Hi guys, today we're talking about a couple of fuel system issues. More specifically, a problem that Mr. Ronbo commented on with his truck. As long as he starts it every day, it starts up just fine, but if he waits 2, 3 or more days to try to start it, it gets harder and harder to start, so it just doesn't really enjoy life. Now this problem can be a little bit difficult to try to diagnose, so before you get elbows deep into your troubleshooting, make sure the fuel shaft solenoid is acting like it should. We got a video for that up there, as well as your starter is cranking over fast enough. If the starter is not cranking over fast enough, or it's not cranking over at all, then this isn't your problem. So normally with this problem, what is happening is that the fuel in the injection pump is allowed to drain back into the tank. Because the injection pump is located higher than the fuel tank, all the fuel wants to drain back. Normally in a sealed system, this wouldn't be possible, but if you got a leak in one of the fuel lines near the injection pump, it allows that to happen, and so when you're trying to start your truck, it's trying to burn air, it doesn't work so well. Now, to test that theory, what you can do is park your truck nose downhill. The steeper the hill, the better, but be safe, guys. Don't do anything I would do. Not really that hard. What you're doing is you're elevating the fuel tank, so if the fuel tank's at the same level or even higher than the injection pump, then the fuel will no longer try to drain out, and so your truck should start normally, if not at least a little bit better than it did when you're parked on level or uphill. Now, if you come to the conclusion that you have a leak somewhere in your fuel system, this is where it can be a little bit tricky trying to find out exactly where, because in a perfect world, you'd think that if it sucks in air when there's vacuum, then surely when the truck's running, you got fuel pressure, then it would leaking out fuel. This isn't always the case. Not only are all the lines and stuff saturated or some form of fluid in these 20-year-old trucks, but some leaks possess magical forces that don't just work like that. I don't know why. So when it comes to replacing, you kind of have to just replace random parts and hope that it works. So if this problem has happened after you change the fuel filter, then try changing it again. If you remove a metal fuel line, then try loosening off that banjo bolt and tightening it up again, reseating it. I like to use a little Vaseline on the washers. You can consider replacing the washers. Now, fortunately for us, in a way, there's a fuel line that has become quite well known as being a bit of a troublemaker. It's located underneath the intake plenum shelf, so you really can't see it. So when you replace it, you have to kind of go by feel. And so I can almost guarantee that there's no other YouTube videos about this because you can't see it, how you're supposed to film it. We're doing it though. Now, it's worth mentioning that typically this fuel line is the first one to fail because it's right there next to the engine. It sees a lot more heat cycles, it sees a lot more heat, so it's going to dry rot first. But if this fuel line is becoming an issue and is leaking, then it's probably a good idea to go around replacing all the fuel lines. We'll do that in another video then. Now, this rubber fuel line in question starts right around here and then goes down to the side of the transmission, so it's only about 1.5 feet long, but it can be quite the bugger to try to replace. Fortunately enough, we know a couple tricks. So to start things off, we're going to start unplugging things. We're going to unplug the fuel heater relay. We're going to unplug the... Oh, that guy just came off like that. That works too. That's the fuel shaft solenoid relay. Put those off to the side somewhere where they won't be in the way. Then we're going to unplug the fuel shaft solenoid for good measure. Like that. Okay. I'll put that off to the side somewhere where it's out of the way so we can get at things a little better. Now, if you were to try to sneak your hand under there and try to fix it like that, well, that's not quite enough room. You'd be at it all day. It's be quite the task. Luckily enough, we got a bit of a trick, and this trick can be used for anything where you need just more room in this place, whether it be changing the fuel filter or the lift pump or something like that, and that is to just unbolt the master cylinder and to scoot it forward. It only requires 2 nuts, and you're not opening up any gaskets or anything like that, so it's quite brilliant and it gives you a lot more access. So to do that, you just grab yourself a 15mm and remove the 2 nuts holding on the master cylinder. With those 2 nuts off, all you gotta do is slide the dude forward and just kind of scoot him forward. Don't try pushing or forcing anything. It should just slide over forward without any problem. Your brake fluid reservoir should not leak. If it does, you might want to look into that. Now, with that like that, you can easily get your arm in there and be able to work on things a lot easier. We're going to have to sneak our arm in something like this. And then there it is. That is the hose clamp we have to remove. Now we just got to go in there with our screwdriver. Now, Dodge can be a little finicky with what size they decide to go with. We're going to start with a 1/4 inch. If the 1/4 inch is too big, try going down to a 6mm. If a 1/4 inch is too small, try going up to a 7mm. It should be one of those sizes. This guy's really easy to come off. So it tells me it's been replaced before, because if it's a stock fuel line, it's probably cemented on there after 20 years. So trying to get it off can be a bit of a trick, to where you might be best off just using a knife and cutting the hose off. Just kind of start at the front and just slice it until you get to the bob, wiggle it around, and it should pop right off. Now, because for us, we should be able to just pop it right off. So this fuel line might have been replaced already, but we're going to do it anyway for the sake of video. Okay, just slide it off. And there it is. That's off. There it is. Now I'm trying not to strip diesel all over the camera. Now I just gotta get the other end. Now, if you're having a hard time figuring out which fuel line you're supposed to disconnect down there, try wiggling around the one you just disconnected up top. That should make it pretty easy. You can kind of see it from the top. Sometimes it's easier to get from the top, but I like to sneak down from the bottom and get it from there. There's our guy right there. Now, if yours has a hose clamp, well, that's fine and dandy. But if it's got the little crip dude there, you can see on the other fuel line, then go ahead and just take a pair of side cutters down to it, cut it off, and then just replace it with a hose clamp when you replace the fuel line. It's proving kind of difficult to try to videotape, guys, but we're going to do this anyway, right? Perseverance is next to stubbornness. Just happens to be a variant form of it. Okay. I think we got it there, guys.
Would you look at that sexy beast?
Oh, we're waiting on the wind again. So this is the fuel line we just pulled out of the truck, and it's definitely been replaced, but check it out. It's the wrong stuff. This is 3/8 inch fuel line when you're supposed to have 5/16 inch, and it's Gates 30R7 fuel line. This stuff's barely rated for gasoline. It's recommended for fuel vapor. It's not even close to diesel rated, especially not biodiesel rated, so this is not the right stuff to be using. And you can tell because it's already starting to crack on the ends, and that's where this fuel line likes to leak in. So if you're having this problem with your truck not wanting to start, it's probably because the ends are cracked up like that. So when you're looking for a fuel line to replace this guy, make sure to ask for diesel rated fuel line. And once you get it, check the SAE rating printed on there, search it on the interwebs, make sure it is indeed biodiesel rated. I would definitely recommend biodiesel rated because a lot of the fuel at the pumps is mixed with biodiesel, and biodiesel is such a great cleaner that I like to run a little bit through every once in a while just because it cleans everything out so well. But be prepared to change your filter because it does that good of a job. So if you're wanting Gates fuel line, a Gates 30R9 fuel line would be the right stuff. It's both diesel and biodiesel rated, but we're going to be using this here Trident barrier line A115 marine grade fuel line. If this stuff was human, it would have at least 7 PhDs and hold the world record in square barrel racing. It's that good. So I just got to measure the old fuel line. This guy's about, let's just say 20 and a half. 20 and a half looks about right. Now we just cut the new stuff. About, yeah. I'm not sure. Some of you are cringing about me doing this on a tire, and the other cringing about how dull my knife is. I think we've achieved a pretty close to a 100% cringe rate, wouldn't you say? There it is. The Trident fuel line is a little on the stiff side, so the fact that it's cold doesn't really help. I might actually do that. I might just take a heat gun and warm it up a little bit. That might not be the worst idea. I think we're calling that far enough, guys. So that guy's done. Just need to tighten him up. Oh dear. Now this is often a common misconception that you want to put the hose clamp right on the barb No, you don't. You want to put it behind the barb. Give it a little bit of clearance there, but you want to put it behind the barb and tying it down there. That allows for a nice tight seal, because when you tighten up the hose clamp, it kind of can crimp the hose a little bit. So the barb is your sealing surface, so you don't want to crimp it on the barb. You want to crimp it behind the barb, so the hose acts like a spring and sucks it around on the back of the barb and allows for a nice tight connection. Also, don't over crank these things down. You don't need much. Just if you have it behind the barb, snug it down, you're good. That guy's actually going on real easy. I thought we might have to warm him up, but nope. So you can get a nice angle and they'll squeak, push him on. Little twisting motion while he's twisting them on. And he's on all the way there. Nice. There you go. Now guys, I want to point this out. When we were looking down here on this here connection, the throttle linkage was a bit of the way. So what we did was, we put zip ties over here, flooring the throttle to help get that out of the way. It works really well, but please, if you do this, remember to take the zip ties off before you start it up, because that would be a heck of a wake-up call. We also zip tied these brake lines over. That was for the sake of the camera, but just remember that you A, can try to hold things over with zip ties a little bit, and B, remember to take them off again. Well, there you go. All you gotta do now is reconnect the master cylinder, reconnect any connectors that you disconnected, and you're connected up. Guys, we have done the impossible. Not only did we replace that fuel line, but we took a video of it, and I hope the footage turned out pretty good. We'll have to look at it later and see how we did. You should see the mining helmet type setup we got on the top of this camera to try to get it to work. It's kind of interesting. I suppose to toast to that. Anywho, also I want to thank you all so much. We hit the other day 1,000 subscribers. Holy cow! Okay, and even if you haven't subscribed, your views, your comments, your likes, they all help get us to where we are. And you know what? We're gonna keep going. We're gonna get further. Next step, 10,000, right? Let's do it. I still got a bunch of videos we gotta do on these things. Time's kind of get later in the year. We're getting a little bit more time to be able to do more videos. I hope we'll crank them out again. I don't know, about once a week, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It takes a lot of editing to, whatever. But we're going to keep going with this, so we'll see where it goes. So thank you guys for watching, and keep wrenching.